want to show you how we can orchestrate topic with GenAI in Copilot Studio, right? So traditionally, when we create a topic, we have to first define the multiple phrases, right? And then we have to define the conversation flow by using the different nodes, right? And with this GenAI capability, specifically for this topic, right? We can do is we can define the natural conversation experience for end user, right? It can also handle the multi-intent scenario where for specific intent there are multiple topics, right? It can also create a some kind of dynamic plan or chaining, right? Where it will it will chain the multiple topic or multiple actions, right? To respond to the user, right? And then this will also ask user the question based on the input we define, and it will also do the entity extraction, right? So let me go ahead and show the demo here. And for this specific demo perspective, I have created a one art of possibility, right? Where actually we want to create a some kind of flow, a conversation flow for air booking, right? And in this scenario, what I'm doing is actually I have defined the input, right? Like from where the user is living, and then from where they will go, right? So it will ask two type of questions, right? So to enable the Gen AI for intelligent authoring or for topic, right? First thing what we need to do is we have to enable the Copilot chatbot in the generative AI mode, right? So to enable that, what we need to do is we need to go to settings and then go to generative AI, and then we have to enable the generative mode here, right? So that is the first thing we have to do, right? Once we enable this option, now we can create a topic which will use the GenAI capability, right? So I have created one topic in advance, and let me go there. So this is the topic which I have created. Okay. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just defining the description and input. I'm not defining any kind of logic here, right? Any kind of conversation script, right? So essentially, since it will use the GenAI, so instead of the phrases, what I'm doing here is I'm just describing the description here, right? And this description will be used by the GenAI to trigger this topic, right? And then what I'm doing here is I have defined the two input variable. Okay. So before I go to the input variable, let me just little bit talk about the topic details, right? So we can give the name, any name we can provide, and this is the internal to this topic, and description is also internal to this topic, right? So these two last fields are very important, right? Which will be used by the generative AI. So here I'm defining the display name, what will be the display name, and then I'm also providing the description of this model, right? And this will be used by the GenAI at runtime when it identify the or trigger the specific topic, right? So now moving to the inputs, I have defined the two input leaving from and then going to. Okay. And basically these input will be used by GenAI to dynamically ask the question, right? So we have to uh, carefully define some of the information here, right? To have a good accuracy when GenAI is using this data, right? To ask the question to the user, right? So basically I have defined the variable and give a proper name because this will be used by GenAI. And then actually we have an option here like how the copilot will fill this input, right? We can use the dynamic fill, or we can also set a value, right? So I'm just keeping the dynamic, and then we can also define the data type, whether it will be string or something. So in my case, actually, since I'm asking the city name, right? So string would work. And then we also need to define the display name, what would be the display name. Okay. And then I want this the information, right? What user is entering as a city, right? So that's why I have assigned this as a city entity, right? So the Gen AI will extract that information, right, from that the user utterance, and then it will save as a variable and as a city, right? And then I have also defined the description. This will also used by the Gen AI, right? When it create a question for the user, right? And There are some additional settings here, and if we want to have a more control, we can use these settings, right? So the first setting is like Copilot prompt user for the input, right? So whether we want to use the dynamic the question, or we want to define our own question, right? Own prompt, right? We can do that, right? The next one is the regarding the Copilot doesn't identify the entity. So when the when the GenAI is prompting the question, and then when the user answer the for that question, right? So let's say in this scenario, I'm asking for the city, and then if they provide some other information, right? Then it will not match the city entity, right? So then in that case, how we can handle, right? So basically, the default behavior is it will ask user to um, reprompt, right, two times, right? We can change the behavior, we can say don't repeat once, right? So those kind of things we can change, and then we can also customize the message, like when it is trying to uh, uh, prompting again, what message we want to display, right? Then we can also do the validation on entity, right? And then what we can do is we can create a use the some power effects function and all those things, and we can also apply some logic on the entity value, right? And then we can also define like what happen when the entity doesn't match, right? So when instead of user typing city, if user types something else, right? Then what we can do, right? We want to escalate, or we want to set that value to variable, or we want to set a variable to the empty value, right? So those kind of things we can do for the additional control, right? So, and similar way, I have defined the another variable going to, right? And this has a pretty much all the fields here, right? So now let me go ahead and show you the demo, right? So let me open the test console, and then let me ask, I want to book air ticket. Okay, so let's see what this chatbot will do, right? So essentially, internally, it is calling the GPT-4 model, right? And then building a dynamic plan to ask the question, right? So let's wait for the question. Okay, so now it is asking the question, right? We have not defined this question, right? So it is the GenAI is dynamically building a this kind of question, right? So it is asking, where are you living from for your flight? So let me say Charlotte. Okay, so now it is asking the second question, where would you like to go? Okay, let me say New York. Okay, so now we have answered both the question, and then actually I have this node here just to summarize this information. So I'm just summarizing this information, right? So this is how we can use the generative AI for the topic. Thank you.